Hey, look at that, I'm back again. We're going to talk about rule number 6. And rule number 6 in dialogue, let me go over here. Boop, there we go. Cut out the boring stuff. So when you write your dialogue, you don't want to write something that's mundane and unimportant, like, wow, I like your shoes. Oh, gee, thanks. I like yours too. Yeah, they're okay. I wanted the other ones, but these are the ones I got. Well, that's not interesting unless shoes are an important part of the story. That's not something you want to talk about. There's a famous quote by Alfred Hitchcock: "What is drama but life with the dull bits cut out?" And that's true. When you read a book, when you see a movie, the boring parts of us walking to the store, unless that's important in the story, you don't see that stuff. And it's true about dialogue as well. You don't hear the boring stuff in dialogue. You only want to hear the stuff that's meaningful to your story or your character arc, or you're adding tension or conflict. So here's an example. Let me put the example on here. I'll put him at the bottom. There. Okay. Mary, what are we having for dinner? Walter sat at the table and pulled out his phone to check email. You notice I didn't say Walter said. I used an action tag here. Walter sat at the table to identify Walter was the one speaking. I thought we'd have steak. You know how much you like steak. Walter sighed. I guess. Okay. That dialogue is a snooze fest, right? It's really boring. It's not important unless the steak's going to come alive and eat them. Nobody cares about the steak and what they're having for dinner. So now, let me show you how I redid that so that I'm adding some sort of interesting thing to the story. And let me put that, I'm going to put it across the center because I bet it fills up. Ready? Boop, there. Okay. Mary, what's for dinner? Walter sat at the table and pulled out his phone, becoming immersed in his email. Mary said something, but he didn't hear. What did you say? I said, are you on your phone already? We can't just sit and talk for once. Does this need to be a big deal every night? We had this argument before. I know. Mary came into the room, her feet stomping the hardwood floors. She put a plate in front of him. A burnt steak sat in the middle, a pile of corn covering the charred end. We have this argument every night, and you promise tomorrow it will be different. And here we are again. So you see here, there's the dialogue about dinner, about steak, and it's really, the dialogue's not about dinner. The dialogue is about the tension between these two characters, Mary and Walter, because Walter seems disconnected from Mary, and he's focused on his email or focused on his work or whatever it is. And so I use this dialogue here to add tension and conflict into the story. I'm getting rid of the boring stuff. What did you have? What are you going to have for dinner? Oh, I don't know. We can have steak. Okay. Boring. I'd rather have that tension in there of what's going on between these two characters, because characters are what's important. And dialogue and action is going to drive the story. And so here's some dialogue that's interesting because there's something going on between these two characters. And that's revealing what the characters are feeling inside. And that's really important. So I hope this is helpful to you. You need to remember in your dialogue, you always want to try to add conflict and tension if you can. It doesn't always have to be there, but you want to think if there's a section of dialogue and it's not revealing something about the character and it's not propelling the story forward, then maybe it needs to go. And you might like that character, but that dialogue, but you want to cut it if it's not important. So think about that when you do your dialogue, and read your dialogue out loud and see if it sounds interesting and you're adding tension and conflict. And thinking about that will help your dialogue a lot. Thanks. Bye.